Hello, this is Dr. Yamada. In this video, I'm going to talk about a basic calculation using sine, cosine, tangent in Excel. Okay, so here's the situation that we deal with. We can draw a right triangle, and what's known are one angle and the length of one side. And what we want to solve is the length of one unknown side. So, for example, we might know the angle of over here, and we know the length of one side over here. Something you want to solve for is this side or that side. Or you know the angle of this, and you know a side, the length of this side, and something you want to solve for is this or that side. Before we get into the sine, cosine, tangent, I'm going to go through some quick overview of sine, cosine, tangent for a given angle, which is usually depicted as theta. If a given angle is over here, the name of this side, which is the opposite side of this given angle, this is called opposite. Okay, because the opposite of the given side. And this slanted or tilted, the longest side of a right triangle is called the hypotenuse. I'm just going to type OPP for opposite and HYP for hypotenuse. And the other side is called adjacent. I'm just going to use abbreviation ADJ. If a given angle of a right triangle is here, then you cannot use these names because the opposite side from the given angle is here. So the name of this side will be the opposite, and hypotenuse is always the same, the longest tilted side of the right triangle, and this is adjacent. Sine, cosine, tangent, what does it tell us? So sine, cosine, tangent give you the ratio of the right triangle size. For the purpose of this video, what you want to know is it can give you the answer about the unknown side of a right triangle from one known side and one known angle. So if you know any of this, if you know hypotenuse, then an angle, you can solve for the length of the opposite or the length of adjacent. If you know the opposite, for example, you can solve for the length of the hypotenuse or adjacent. Okay, so that's the sine, cosine, tangent. So the mathematical formula for sine, cosine, tangent is sine of an angle is the ratio between opposite over hypotenuse, and the cosine of an angle, a cosine of an angle is the ratio between adjacent over hypotenuse. The tangent of an angle is the ratio between the opposite and adjacent. The most common mnemonic to memorize this mathematical formula is so, ka, toa. So basically, it gives you sine equal opposite over adjacent, right? Cosine equal adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent equal opposite over adjacent. Let's work on some examples. So imagine that there is a given angle which is 30 degree, and you know the length of adjacent of the right triangle is 5 meter. You want to know the length of the opposite side. So let's draw what it looks like. So if you have a triangle, right triangle, and the length of here is 30 degree, right? So the opposite side of this triangle is over here. And you know this is hypotenuse and this is adjacent, right? And adjacent is known, which is 5 meter. So how do you use sine, cosine, tangent? So what we want to solve right now is the length of the opposite. You just need to pick the right formula that contains all adjacent, opposite, and angle. What is the one that contains both opposite and adjacent and angle? So this one doesn't have adjacent. This one has adjacent, but it doesn't have an opposite. Therefore, tangent is the correct formula. Tangent of 30 degree is opposite something you want to solve and adjacent 5 meter. So now what you want to do is you want to isolate x. So to isolate x, you can multiply by 5 meter, so you can cancel. And in any equations, when you do something on one side, you have to do the exact same on the other side, right? So you want to multiply by 5 meter on the other side too. So you can isolate x equal 5 meter times tangent 30 degree. So this is the formula you want to punch in so that you can obtain the length of x, which is the opposite, right? So another example, given angle is 22 degree, and also you know the hypotenuse length as 15 centimeter. What is the length of the opposite side? So what you are dealing with right now is you know this is 22 degree and the hypotenuse is 15 centimeters. Therefore, what you want to solve for is the opposite. First, since we are using the meter as the common unit for the length, so we have to convert centimeter to meter, 0.15 meter. Okay, now all you have to do is to pick the right mathematical formula that contains hypotenuse, angle, and the opposite, which is sine, right? Because angle, opposite, and hypotenuse. What if you pick mistakenly cosine? You do have the length of hypotenuse, you do have the angle, right? If you use the cosine, the answer you obtain is actually the length of adjacent. So this is not what you want, right? What you want is to solve for the length of opposite. Therefore, you use sine. So you can draw sine of 22 degree is the ratio between opposite over hypotenuse. So opposites first, x over hypotenuse 1.05. Okay, let's just do one more. Think by this point you get how it works. So let's work on this. The given is 22 degree. The known is the opposite side, and what you want to solve for is hypotenuse. So what you can imagine is, so this is the right triangle. So you pick the right formula that contains opposite, hypotenuse, and the angle. So we're going to still use sine. So sine 22 degree is the ratio between opposite and x. So to isolate x, what you have to be careful is not just 15 meter times sine 22, sine of 22 degree, because if you want to cancel x, you multiply by x over here, you can cancel, and you're going to do the exact same thing on the left side. So x times sine 22 degree equal 15 meter. So actually, you still haven't isolated x. So what you have to do is you have to divide by sine of 22 degree. So you can cancel this. Now you can isolate it. But you have to do the exact same thing on the other side of the equation. Therefore, x will be 15 over sine of 22 degree. So when you work on the Excel sheet, there isn't actually one more important thing, okay, which is Excel only understands angles in radians. So if the question is given in degrees, you have to convert degrees to radians. Radians, parenthesis. This is the name of the function you have to use. So before working on the SOHCAHTOA sine cosine tangent, you convert degree into radians. So this is radians. So now you plug in the number. What do you get? 5 times tangent. Therefore, 5 times tangent of not 30 degree, but in radians. So we use this newly obtained number. So this is the answer. Therefore, the length of the opposite is 2.886751 meter. Okay, so let's work on the second question. Same thing, you want to enter these values into the spreadsheet. However, you need to convert degrees into radians first. And then all you have to do is you type in the formula that you identified. So 0.15 times sine of the angle in radians, 0.056, which is the length of the opposite. Okay, the last question is the formula is 15 over sine. 15 over sine. So so the degree is exactly the same. Just do it again. Radians, 22. So this is the angle in radians, right? So 15 over hypotenuse sine of the angle in radians. So we're going to use this value. Therefore, the answer is the length of the hypotenuse of this specific triangle. So the x is 40.04.